when at the beginning when you started, just like when you're reading, as you're reading and you're training, did you concentrated and focused, for example, on psycho-cybernetics? Did you went through the book before you moved on to another book, for example? Because I find sometimes myself all over the place. Like I'll start to read one book and then I think that I could go ahead and catch something else of value in another book, just like in training. I know we have everything we need in the back office, right? And then sometimes I deviate outside from the training, go to another training because I think I'm going to go ahead and pick up something different. So sometimes I find myself not that focused, but in different areas instead of focusing in one area at a time.
I think I can tell you what I do, man. I think Dave's maybe a little bit different. But I just take one thing and I finish it. And a lot of times I'm not even going to go, I would read one book, and then I would go back and read it again. And just stick to one thing, read it again. Because when you read a book for the first time, you're probably going to pick up maybe 10% after you read it. You'll remember, here's the thing. You don't learn something, you don't know something until you can explain it to somebody else and they can get it. So, that's why I tell, I say when you read psycho-cybernetics, read it 3 times back to back. Because first time you read it, you'll pick up some things. Second time you'll pick up 3 times more. Third time you read it, you'll be like, wow, I did see that before. That's just me.
I have an interesting perspective on that, just because it was something I was going through from Dan Kennedy once, and this is I think everybody learns a little bit different, and so it's going to be really hard for anybody to answer the question on exactly how you should read books in general. But I mean, he met Donald Trump at a seminar one day, and he met Donald Trump, and they started getting to talk, and he realized pretty quickly that Dan Kennedy was a pretty interesting, intelligent guy, and Donald Trump turned to Dan Kennedy and said, "What 3 books are you reading?" Apparently, it was a question he asked fairly often, and then Dan Kennedy reeled him off. And this is another perspective on reading. And so, I'm super ADD with the way I read books. Sometimes I'll be reading 3 or 4 at the same time, and sometimes I'll get really focused on one. It just kind of depends. And so I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with reading more than one at the same time. You go somewhere else to get something else, and then coming back. But it's like Vic said, if you got something really good, you need to soak it up. You might need to read it 2, 3, 4 times.
Whatever works for you, man. If you see that thing is keeping you from moving forward, try something different.
Well, it actually is keeping me from moving forward.
Well, let me tell you, with myself, because I tend to jump all over the place as well.
And I'm sorry, Dave. It's happening to me in the reading aspect, in the training aspect. I mean, I'm just all over the place. So I think I'm thinking I'm learning. And I'm captured, I'm learning different stuff as far as what to do. But since I'm all over the place, I'm actually in the learning mood basis, taking action.
Just a perspective on myself. Okay? I will jump all over the place like that unless I force myself into a schedule. And that's just how I am. Like with myself, when I read, I have to have a timer there and know when I start and know when I'm going to read to. Because if I don't do that, I'll stop reading or I'll jump to something else or I'll jump to something else. It's just the way my brain is. My brain's a little different. There's nothing wrong with the jumpy brain because you jump from idea to idea to idea to idea. You come up with a lot of good ideas like that. But when you're trying to focus, just time yourself. Just put a timer there and say, I'm not going to move until this timer's done and I'm just going to read this. And you'll be amazed at how fast you can get through stuff too. I mean, a half an hour a day of reading doesn't really sound like a lot until you do it. You'll finish a book every 6 or 7 days.
You'll read a book a week.
Yeah, a book a week. And I mean, not being a fast reader, you'll read a book a week in 30 minutes a day. You read an hour a day, you'll finish 2 books a week. You read 2 hours a day, you'll finish 4 books a week. It doesn't matter who you are because you'll start reading faster automatically if you read that much. If you want to read a little faster, just take a pen and trace your eyes and make it go a little bit faster. That's comfortable for you. And it's a way to read faster without forgetting things like you do with speed reading techniques.
And you did the timing as well for training, for example.
Yeah, I would just, what I would do is, in our training videos, they're a set amount of time, and I would either set yourself to just, I'm going to do this for an hour, and then stop and make a note of where I stopped, and then just force yourself to sit there. Because you really, audio's different in the sense that it's designed to be playing in the background when you're doing other things. If you're going to be doing other things, play audio in the background, right? Because that's what it's for, it's for downtime. But if you want to get through a video training and actually absorb it, you need to sit there and watch it. You just do. If you're doing other things, you're going to be missing the most important parts of the training. Like if you go through some of the 15K stuff that where Shakir's talking or whatever on solo ed, you'll probably miss something that will cost you a lot of money because you'll be making stupid mistakes if you don't just sit there and pay attention, right? So just sit there and pay attention. Force yourself to do it. And I think that you'll actually find that that'll transfer over to other stuff too, because if you force yourself to pay attention, the attention transfers, right? Because maybe the reason why sometimes we don't succeed is because we're all over the place, right? Because we don't finish the things that we start, right? Sometimes, right? Like Vic, one of the things he just said that was really profound that a lot of people miss, he starts something and he finishes it. Right? Might have just glossed over that. I start things and finish it. That's actually a pretty big deal. And even if it's a small thing, 30 minutes a day and timing it, then you actually know that you read for 30 minutes. It's not a lot of time in the day. It's 1/50th of the day. If you want to look at it like that, a 50th. It's really not that much time. But that 1/50th will make you read as much as a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, which is an average of about a book a week. If you look at people who earn different income levels, CEOs of massive companies, they read an average of a book a week, right? And that's 4 books a month. 2 years of that, and you're like smarter than all your friends and family and know stuff that nobody that you know knows anymore. You have to make new friends because they can't relate to all the weird stuff that you know anymore. Which is a good thing. It's nice to have rich friends, and they can do cool stuff like go golfing all day tomorrow in Texas.
When I was getting started, my mentor said, you're going to become, in 3 to 5 years, he said, in 3 to 5 years, you will be like the books you read and people you hang out with. He said 3 to 5 years. And I didn't believe it. But then I look back, 3 years later, or 4 years later, somewhere in there, I was earning, multiple 6 figures a year. It's just, it's easy to talk about it right now, right? But when you go through the process and you feel like you want to stop or you don't feel like doing it, that's when you need it the most.
I heard a story, another Bill Britt story. I think it's funny.